The 16th and 17th centuries marked a time of great change. European powers, including Britain, set their sights on the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. They were driven by a thirst for new lands, riches, and power. This ambition led them to the shores of the Americas, a land already inhabited by diverse indigenous populations. Britain's arrival would forever alter the course of history for both the colonizers and the colonized. England's early attempts at colonization in the Americas were met with mixed success. Sir Walter Raleigh's ill-fated Roanoke colony, established in 1585, mysteriously vanished. Despite this setback, the English persisted, driven by tales of abundant resources and the prospect of establishing a global empire. The successful establishment of Jamestown, Virginia in 1607 marked a turning point. It became the first permanent English settlement in North America. This success, however, was often overshadowed by the harsh realities of colonial life. Disease, starvation, and conflict with Native Americans were constant threats. What drove the British across the vast Atlantic to the shores of a new world? One powerful motivator was economic opportunity. England, like other European nations, was captivated by the idea of discovering gold and silver in the Americas. While these precious metals proved elusive in North America, other forms of wealth presented themselves. The fur trade emerged as a lucrative industry. Europeans, eager for beaver pelts, established trading posts and alliances with Native American tribes. This trade, however, often led to competition and conflict among indigenous groups vying for control. Beyond immediate riches, England saw the Americas as a land of opportunity for its growing population. Land ownership represented a chance for social advancement and freedom that was often unattainable in Europe. This promise of a better life, coupled with religious and political motivations, spurred waves of English colonists to brave the perilous journey across the Atlantic. The arrival of British colonists in the Americas had a profound and often devastating impact on the indigenous populations. While initial interactions were sometimes marked by curiosity and tentative alliances, cultural misunderstandings and competing claims to land quickly led to conflict. European diseases, such as smallpox and measles, ravaged indigenous communities who lacked immunity. These epidemics decimated populations, weakening their ability to resist colonial expansion. The introduction of firearms further tipped the scales in favor of the Europeans. As colonists pushed further inland, seeking more land for farming and settlement, they encroached upon Native American territories. Treaties were made and broken, leading to wars and displacement. The Powhatan Wars in Virginia and the Pequot War in New England stand as grim examples of the violence that erupted. Section 4. The Human Cost, Displacement and Disease. The impact of European diseases on Native American populations cannot be overstated. Smallpox, measles, influenza, and other illnesses, previously unknown in the Americas, spread like wildfire. Indigenous people, lacking natural immunity, experienced terrifying mortality rates. Entire villages were decimated. This demographic catastrophe had a devastating impact on Native American societies. It disrupted their social structures, traditional knowledge systems, and ways of life. The loss of elders and knowledge holders created a profound sense of cultural disruption and loss. The demand for land by the ever-increasing number of colonists led to further displacement. Native Americans were forced off their ancestral lands and onto reservations, often located in less fertile and desirable areas. This forced relocation disrupted their traditional hunting grounds, farming practices, and spiritual connections to the land. Section 5. A New Society. The Shaping of Colonial Life. As more and more British colonists arrived in the Americas, they began to establish distinct colonial societies. These colonies, while sharing a common British heritage, developed unique characteristics shaped by geography, economics, and local circumstances. In the southern colonies, such as Virginia and the Carolinas, a plantation economy emerged. Large-scale agriculture, reliant on the cultivation of cash crops like tobacco, rice, and indigo, became the dominant way of life. This system relied heavily on the forced labor of enslaved Africans, who were transported across the Atlantic in horrific conditions. The New England colonies, including Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, developed a different social and economic structure. Family farms, fishing, and timber production were central to their livelihoods. These colonies also placed a strong emphasis on religion, particularly Puritanism, which influenced their laws, social customs, and attitudes towards education. Section 6. The Seeds of Rebellion. Growing tensions and resistance. As the 18th century progressed, tensions grew between Great Britain and its American colonies. A combination of factors, including increased taxation, restrictions on colonial trade, and a growing sense of American identity, fueled resentment towards British rule. The British government, burdened by debt from its involvement in the 7 Years' War, sought to increase revenue from its colonies. The Stamp Act of 1765, which imposed a tax on printed materials, sparked widespread protests and boycotts. Colonists argued that they should not be subjected to taxation without representation in Parliament. The Boston Tea Party of 1773, in which colonists disguised as Native Americans dumped British tea into Boston Harbor, further escalated the situation. Great Britain responded with a series of punitive measures known as the Intolerable Acts, which fueled colonial resistance and pushed the two sides closer to war. Section 7. Legacies of Empire. Reflections on a Complex Past. The story of Britain's colonial conquests in the Americas is a complex and often troubling one. It is a story of ambition, opportunity, and the pursuit of wealth and power. It is also a story of exploitation, displacement, and the devastating consequences of colonialism on indigenous populations. The legacies of this colonial past continue to shape the Americas today. The displacement and cultural disruption experienced by Native American communities have had long-lasting impacts. The transatlantic slave trade, which brought millions of Africans to the Americas in chains, left an indelible mark on the social fabric of the United States and other nations. As we reflect on this history, it is essential to engage with its complexities and acknowledge the perspectives of all those who were impacted. Only by understanding the past can we hope to build a more just and equitable future.